Hey book club,
Hey guys.
it's Natalie and I again. And you may be wondering if we mean to suspend our book club in view of all that's going on around us in this unprecedented time in our lifetimes with this pandemic, with this COVID-19. And what I want to say to you, because we are changing a number of things we're doing at Living Proof right now,
Yes.
but this is not one of them. And why? Because, well, we're doing this by screen.
Yes.
And also because we need our minds on something. Yeah, I do want to keep up with the news. I want to know exactly what's happening,
That's
but
right.
I also want to have some really good content
Yes.
that is going to build me up in the spirit, build me up in the Word of God, and get me also thinking of other things that also, I've been thinking about this a lot, Natalie. It speaks into it. It speaks into when we are really in perilous situations. And so we're right here in it. We're not going to be anything but aided by hanging with it, reading our portions each week. And so tell us what we've been doing this week, Natalie. So what have we got under our belts so far?
I'm so excited just about this week. Just like you mentioned on last week, that we were kind of getting more into the meat.
Yes,
of
we are.
And so it's just been wonderful to read all of your comments. I mean, we had over 308 comments, so we love seeing you guys interact. Continue that,
Yes.
especially like Beth mentioned in this time, we need to just kind of refocus our minds, not being aware of what's going on.
We want to be aware, but we want to be together.
We want to be together.
Yes.
And so just seeing our community, you all just talk about the book and discuss it, it is just making us rejoice and get more excited about this day. So last week, Beth, thank you for setting us up, because last week you were talking about how abiding, you were kind of setting up, I know we don't talk about it until chapter 9, but how we do not dwell in this place. We dwell in the presence and the person of Jesus.
That's right.
I have been holding on to those words in the middle of this time.
Me too.
But we're going to jump right in. This week we've had a chance to read chapters 4 through 7.
That's right.
And it's been so good. I want to start off by just reading a comment from Nancy Lachey. She said that I just read chapter 4, and as a worship leader, it thrills my heart thinking of God singing to me, especially with loud singing.
Don't you love it?
Me too. I'm one of those loud shower singers.
I'm telling you, yes.
But can you just talk a little bit about Isaiah 5 and 1?
Yes, I just love it, because of course Isaiah 5, and it's part of the backbone, the spine of Chasing Vines, because it's giving us the backdrop where it talks about Isaiah singing a song for his beloved, and his beloved is God. And then of course God comes into the lyric and he begins singing. And then we looked at that portion on 58 of Zephaniah 3:16 and 17, where it talks about him, God rejoicing over his people with gladness, quieting us by his love, and exulting over us with loud singing. Listen, you have to really want people to know that you love somebody when you're going to loud sing over them. I have to tell you, Nellie, this is making me think about yesterday, and our day before yesterday now, as we had our worship services, many of us online, because I'm watching the worship team on my screen. So I'm still in my pajamas at home, because this is what our church, I wanted to comply with what our church was asking us. But girl, I was singing loud. I was just doing some
Were you
twirling.
dancing too?
I was doing a little bit of dancing. Yes, I was, because I could just do it the way I wanted. So I was singing back loudly over him. So I'm so glad that meant something to you, Nancy. I pray it continues to.
Another part that was just so, that you talked about in here, because what really touched me is this, part where you say that you thought that he would be ashamed of you.
Yes.
And I felt that way, and I know so many of us have felt that way at times. But just when on the next page over, and it says, Christ's love for us is utterly shameless. That just hit my heart, and it makes me just want to cry now, because I can now receive that. You know,
that it doesn't. We have been given through the power of the cross the righteousness of Christ. Because he who knew no sin took on our sin. And so it's the most beautiful thing to really receive, accept, and embrace our place in Christ, that he is not ashamed to call us his own. So I love that too. Listen, if that meant something to me, these are not things that I just put on paper that passed me by. Oh man, that meant something to me as well.
Yeah, thank you. So we're gonna move right along, guys, into the next chapter of inspection. Now this part, you said only one thing is worse than producing no fruit than producing bad fruit.
Bad fruit. Yes.
Yes.
Bad fruit.
Talk a little bit about that.
So what you would have seen, I hope this got your mind going, because Natalie and I would love to know what some of your equations were, because remember we talked about whatever it is that we're trying to test.
Yes.
We're talking about that only time can tell us in some occasions what the fruit of that particular practice may be, that even though we thought it was the right thing to do. I mean, there are things that are just obvious. This is right and this is wrong, but we may be trying to implement a certain thing in our home or in our churches or in our ministries or in our whatever people group we may be in, and then we begin to realize, over time, something is not producing good fruit here. Something is producing bad fruit, and what is it?
Yeah.
Because for instance, there's righteousness that produces good fruit, whereas self-righteousness is going to produce bad fruit. And sometimes I can't tell the difference between self-righteousness and true Christ-centered righteousness until I see what fruit is coming from it. So think about, we want to hear what some of those equations would be for you. What are some of the things that you put in there? One of the ones I put in there was that legalism plus time, I mean, it makes you grouchy.
Yeah,
makes you irritable.
Grouchy fruit. I was cracking up.
Grouchy fruit. Who wants to just be grouchy all the time? And let me tell you something. The older we get, the grouchier we're going to get. So get a hold of that now. I don't care if you're 25.
Yes.
Now, hills I love. We won't pause much there to talk about that one, but I'm from the hills, so I love that we got to talk about that he chose a fertile hill and what that means, and that roll instead of that stiff peak or that flat land, that it's that roll, and something about it I love. I just love it. So take us to rocks.
All right, so we're going to go over to rocks, which I love that you said rocks are catalysts for our growth. But also it says that the grapevine will opt for the easy way instead of going to the trouble of bearing fruit.
That's right.
I can relate personally into some of those things. One of my friends used to call me the runaway bride, because I would just keep my tennis shoes on and just run away from everything if I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to cause some type of pain or something. But just kind of talk a little bit about that for us.
I think for almost everyone I've gotten a chance to talk with any length to about in regard to the book, the moment that it began to come together was the rocks chapter. If I ask them what part resonated with you, they'll be all over the book about various things, but almost every single one of them, I'm trying to even think when there's been an exception to it. No one's left out that I can recall. No one's left out that particular part of it, because it's so much the heart of the message. That if the vine has perfect environments, it does not flourish. If it's in the perfect climate, it does not flourish for some reason. And he chose this as the metaphor, that where the vine is concerned, it needs to be under a bit of stress in order to know that it's got to reproduce, and that's what causes it to go from leaves to making actual fruit. And the picture that I got, Natalie, that I'm trying so hard not to touch Natalie because we're trying to be a good example. Now we know we've had the measure of days that is keeping us from getting one another sick, but we're still trying to set a good example for you and not be all over one another, but we're both touchers. But when it comes to these rocks, and when it comes to the vine, one of the things I think about this so much with social media, I don't know why, but that the propensity will be if the vine is doing really well, if that branch is doing really well, then it just wants to leaves and more leaves. And I don't know, it's just sort of a picture of Instagram to me, Natalie, that we're just showing all of our leaves, all the leaves of our what God has given us to, all the leaves, just a lot. Forgive me, but a lot of showing off. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
Lots of leaves, but then there's the actual fruit. And man, that is not going to come if there are not some circumstances around it that are causing it to really have to press in toward the fruit.
Yeah, that's so good. We are so thankful again, just that you guys continue to join us
Yes.
Every single week, and you dive in, you take pictures, you send us all of your comments. We want to continue to engage with you. So as you continue to read, you're going to be reading chapters 8 through 11.
That's right.
I want you to go on as soon as you see something, like put a comment, because we want to hear from you.
Yes, because it's what brings us back here, and we can give you the feedback that we're seeing from you, because we love what Natalie and I love the best is to interact with you.
Yeah.
It's why we're not on here doing a monologue. We like dialogue, both of us do, and we like to dialogue with you. So you are really into it now. Man, if you're keeping up, you're into the message now, and man, do you get into it. What's next, Natalie, is the vine, where you really center in on Christ as the vine, and then it gets into abiding, which is truly, I mean, it is where it all pivots.
Yeah.
So you're heading there. We're getting there. Anything else for us?
That's it. We are going to send you the newsletter. So you guys will have just questions and just things to ponder on for the next week. We love you.
Yes, we do.
So much.
Yes,
and we're praying for you.
Yes.
And can't wait to see you next
That's
week.
right. You guys persevere. The Lord knows exactly where we are, and He has planned for us to be here at this time, this generation. So know that He knows what He's doing with you right now in this particular season of time. We love you.